I should have put her last name in first, I'm sorry, it's the opposite when I signed in. Okay, so that's it, I'm just gonna save it, not limited access, I mean, she's got access to that apartment, so we're good, right?
Correct, yeah, that's all that's
You need to
required.
put her phone number in there, okay.
And
Then
if you
close
would
it.
give that person a roommate.
I'm sorry, what was that? Oh, give him a roommate,
mhm.
all right, okay, I'll give her a husband, how's that? Okay, so close.
All right, so that's all that's required to put a
Mm-hmm,
person in a unit. That is the first step.
Okay.
Now that they're in the unit, you can issue the key.
right, so I'm
So
gonna
close
close this
that.
out,
Yeah.
okay, then I'm gonna go here, right?
Mhm.
I'm gonna create,
Mhm.
I'm gonna create a resident key for 104, right?
Correct.
Okay,
And then you'll select who the key is assigned to,
okay,
and
I should
select
click
that
that
button
thing,
there.
that's right, sorry. So it's resident,
Mhm.
okay, and I'm gonna give John a key, select,
So what you're seeing in the middle there are common access points.
right,
Okay. We will rename those to
Mhm.
wherever your common access hardware is. That could be front door, pool, fitness center, whatever.
Okay.
Whatever we're doing here.
okay,
So whatever common access points you want to give this person access to,
mm-hmm,
you can select those in the middle window. You don't have to do that for the purposes of training.
right, but whatever that might be, all right,
Right.
okay,
So you notice at the top it says no keys have ever been made.
right,
Right,
so
that's
this is
because
a
your
new
property's
key,
new, so
Right.
that will disappear after this.
right,
There is also new and duplicate key is not available yet because you've never made any keys.
So there's nothing to duplicate.
right, okay,
Right.
Okay.
So we can make the new key for Mr.
John.
Bugs.
all right.
Insert the key in, press OK.
Mhm.
A few things are happening when you do this.
Create a new
so you
key
can
will
hit this.
cancel all current keys, that's fine,
So we're going to talk about that message in a second
Okay.
here
all right,
and what it means. So in this screen you can see the key type, who the
Mhm.
key is assigned to, where it has access, and who made it. So
mm-hmm,
after today, this is going to say made by Elizabeth or
I
made
see.
by Elizabeth's associate.
sure,
And it gets assigned a key ID.
mm-hmm,
This key ID will be tracked automatically. You don't have to do that.
okay,
But that key ID is what enables us to audit the activity of the keys, both for your residents and your staff.
right,
Okay.
and I like those audit reports,
Right.
so this is fine,
They're
so,
acquired taste.
Yeah.
So we can close this.
Okay.
Yes. And now let's talk about new and duplicate. The reason you saw that message,
successful, yay, okay, we've got a key,
the reason you saw that message,
mm-hmm,
that new keys will invalidate any of the existing keys.
Mhm.
Okay, so that apartment number was
104.
104.
mm-hmm,
So we'll use apartment 104 as an example.
okay,
And I want you to think of these keys as a family of keys. It's often enough it'll be friends or husband and wife or spouses that live together, correct?
Okay.
So the first key that you made, we'll say that it gets assigned to John. And it's key ID number 1.
mm-hmm,
Okay? This is the new key. Every key after that within this
apartment,
generation, so to speak,
I see,
will be a duplicate. That means 2 through the
Whatever.
limit of 64, but
Okay.
you're never going to make 64 keys
Yeah.
for one
Hopefully not.
family, right?
Yeah.
When I say family, I mean this example, John and
Sally,
Sally.
Mhm.
John and Sally.
mm-hmm,
So Sally gets, I can't write upside down.
she gets
Does that
number
look like it?
5.
Okay, that's a mess. So Sally gets key ID number 2, but Sally's key is a duplicate.
Okay,
Okay? John's key was the first key, it's the new key. Sally's key is a duplicate. Okay?
Okay.
The reason we do that is if you had, let's say, 4 people living here and one of them lost their key, you can turn that key off without interrupting the function of the other 3.
mhm,
Okay? When you only have 1 or 2 people living in an apartment, chances are you're just going to issue them a new key.
mhm,
All right. So if Sally loses her key, this is lost. There are 2 options. The easiest option is for you guys to probably make a new family of keys, a new key. All right. what that does is, we'll call this a generation key. That's generation 1. All right. So making a new key advances the generation to generation 2.
Okay.
And now we're going to have a new generation of key for apartment 104. I'm getting better at this writing upside down thing.
Yeah, wow.
And John gets key ID number 1. It's the new key. And Sally gets key ID number 2. And it's the duplicate.
Right.
Okay? So the process here is Sally lost her key. Okay, we'll make a new key. We make a new key. The new key goes to John. We then issue a duplicate.
Of John's key.
Yeah.
Okay.
New advances the generation, always, every time it's done.
Okay.
And duplicate keeps it within the family, keeps it within the generation. All right. So the order, the workflow here, if you will, the order of march is we have the computer. I know this is super complicated. And we have the lock on the door, which actually yours probably looks like this with a lever on it, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
When you make this key, the computer knows it. The lock doesn't. There are no wires, wireless communication from this computer to the door, right? So we can make a new key. On the computer, these are now invalidated immediately. But it's still, these would still work in that lock until we take this new generation and present it to the lock.
Right.
As soon as it's read on this chip, it says, oh, this is a new generation. I'm going to invalidate the previous. I'm not going to allow these. So once the key makes its way to the lock, then the circle of life is complete, and these are invalidated. They will no longer work. So it doesn't matter if, you know, they just, you know, accidentally put it in the microwave and it doesn't work anymore, or it's lost in a parking lot, or at Busch Gardens or something. You know, who knows? So that's the difference between new and duplicate. New creates a new, whole new generation of keys and will invalidate the old when that key reaches the lock.
Okay.
With resident keys, they will open the resident door and your common areas, right? Which there's probably only a handful of, a few, right?
Yeah.
But with master keys, how many doors will those open? All of them.
Yeah.
All of them. So this is the most important thing we're going to talk about today, and the rest of it is super easy, I promise.
Can I ask one quick question
Sure,
about the previous
please
page? So if you were to make John a new key, and then you go in to the software and you make Sally a new key, you click new, does that invalidate John's key? Does that make sense? Because you get the option to make a new key or a duplicate key.
Right.
If you make a new key for John, you go back into the system, you want to make a new key, and you make it for the same unit, 104. Does that
Yep.
X out the first
Doesn't
one?
matter who lost their key
Okay.
or who you assign this new key to.
Okay.
That is irrespective of who you
So
assign
once you
it to.
make this key, everyone else, like you said, has to be a duplicate. Because if it's
Everybody's a
new,
duplicate.
then you're just starting
Will
over.
your ticket pop up automatically, or do you
Yes.
have to consciously switch it?
Yes, it will.
Okay.
If you go back, actually, that's a good point. Go back into create resident key.
Okay.
Duplicate is the default now.
Yes.
Because it's 104.
Okay, just wanted to make
But
sure.
if she were to go to 105, it would default to
Your
new because the key hasn't been made
Right.
yet.
Okay.
So
Okay.
let's make one for Sally.
Okay. Oops. Seems a little stiff over here. There we go. Left. Okay. Okay.
Oh, okay. The key ID for this key is 2. Because John's is 1.
Yep.
There we
Okay.
go. So we're good. So I can just close it out, right?
Correct.
All right.
So now, like you said, though, just to make sure that I'm understanding, if John were to lose his key, then you would give him a new key, and then again, all of them would be duplicates off of John's remade key. Right? Okay.
So what's happening is you are a technical guy, deny it or not. What's happening here is the name does get encoded to the key.
Okay.
So, and then there is an encrypted sort of password for the lock. That's the credential encapsulated by itself.
Okay.
And then there is a key ID
Mm-hmm.
Information to meet the 3-level challenge. Who are you?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have access here? Do you have access here right now?
Mm-hmm.
If all 3 of those are met, then access is granted. So all 3 of those little pieces of information are sort of enveloped in here.
Okay.
When we make a duplicate,
Mm-hmm.
the name changes, the key ID changes,
Mm-hmm.
the encrypted sort of password for the lock is what's being duplicated.
Okay.
Yeah. And each time you make a new generation, it's a new password.
Okay.
Because the system is saying, we're bringing new people in here.
Yeah.
A new key is a new generation, new people,
password.
new keys.
Okay. So the password's really the only thing that changes from generation to generation, because
Yeah.
the names will stay the same.
And I'm grossly oversimplifying this.
Yeah,
but
but
essentially that's what's happening.
Okay,
Yes.
got it. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna play a trick on Elizabeth. Okay. All right. So with master keys, this is a big deal because master keys will open all of them. So John gets the first master key,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll say Kevin gets key ID number 2, Julie gets key ID number 3, and we have 5,
Kyle.
7, and Kyle.
Okay.
Okay,
And these are all masters.
these are master keys.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll say we have 7 keys existing. All right. This is generation 1.
Okay.
You won't have to track generations. It does it by itself. Okay.
Okay.
So the new key to establish this generation was John's.
Mm-hmm.
These are all
Duplicates.
exactly,
Okay.
and they all get subsequent key IDs.
Okay.
So if you hire a new person here.
Mm-hmm.
They will get what type of key?
They'll get a duplicate off of John's key.
Duplicate, and it will be key ID presumably number 8.
8.
Exactly. Okay, so Kyle has lost his key.
Mm-hmm. Bad Kyle.
Wow,
Not okay. It's a big deal because it'll open every lock on the property. right?
exactly.
Okay. So we have 2 options. First, we've already covered the option of issuing a new key generation.
But then you would have to take that key to every single lock to initialize it, right?
Brilliant deduction, my friend. Yes.
Wow, what a lot of work.
Yeah.
So
Well, he says there's an option 2,
I
which
know,
I'm
I
hoping
know.
is much better than option
Yeah.
1.
Yep. So remember my super tech example here.
Mhm.
Yes.
When you make the computer knows it, the lock doesn't. Okay. So that is one option. When you make a new generation,
Mm-hmm.
you can make the first key is a what type?
There's a master
Right. And then you can make
or an original. And then
7
the rest are duplicates.
duplicates. And if you don't fire Kyle,
Mhm.
you can give Kyle one of those duplicates and tell him to take his key and walk every lock on the property.
That's his,
Yes, that
that's
was
his
good.
punishment
He
for
needs to
losing
do
his
it.
key. Yeah, I like
If
it.
you need it done in 30 minutes,
Mhm.
you can tell all 7 of those people, you take this section of the property,
Mhm.
you take floor 1, you take floor 2.
I see.
You can divide it up. As long as every lock is touched, you're fine,
Mhm.
and it'll be done very quickly.
I see.
But I
so that's
guarantee
option
one's going to get missed.
Yep.
Option 2
Mm-hmm.
is. What in the world did I do? Okay. I need coffee. All right. Option 2 is there is a key type that will help us do this, and it's called an inhibit key. All an inhibit key does when it's presented to a lock is it tells the lock, don't allow this key ID anymore. It turns that one off without interrupting the function of the other 6.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's there because the likelihood of all 7 people who have master keys to this property being on property at the
At
same
one
time
time, sure.
is slim.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So the inhibit key, you can make one, give it to Kyle, say you're not being paid for this time, but you're not being fired either.
Mm-hmm.
Go walk the property. If you trust him to do it,
Mhm.
then it'll be done, and his lost key is no longer a threat.
Okay.
A second beautiful thing about the inhibit key is you can make 8 of them, 10 of them, 20 of them. They all do the same thing.
I see.
They turn Kyle's lost key off.
Okay.
Okay.
So Kyle buys everybody breakfast, and you pass them out, and everybody walks the property.
So you'd have to make an inhibit key each time that you have an instance of
Yeah,
a key being
and I'm going to
unlocked.
show you how to do that. But
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
but you make a key that when it's encoded,
Mhm.
it puts information here that says you don't get access anywhere. All you're doing is telling the lock, don't allow master key ID number 4.
Okay.
That's all it does, and you can
Okay.
make 20 of these.
Okay.
So that's the option. So when you
Okay.
make it, the computer knows it, and you take them around to all the locks, and then everything is complete. This is turned off. It won't work anywhere.
Okay.
It won't work in any lock you've taken that key to.
Okay.
So if you don't fire Kyle, and you're going to give him another master key,
Mhm.
what type do you issue him?
You would give him a duplicate
A
off
duplicate.
of John's, and it would be 8,
It
right?
would be he's going to get 8
Because this
Exactly.
would no longer work, and then every time he puts it in a lock to open something,
Exactly.
it would recognize it.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes, you're going to give him a duplicate because you're wanting to keep it all in this generation.
Mhm.
So he gets number 8, and this one is invalidated at that point.
Mhm.
And then if you hire somebody else,
They would be 9.
9, duplicate.
So 4 will never ever be used again in this generation. Once if we use an inhibit key.
Not at all.
Okay. It'll just
If
keep
it's
scrolling
found
down.
5 years from now,
It'll still
somebody
won't be
it's
valid.
never going to work again.
Okay.
Yep.
But then can we take that key, if he ends up finding it, say we inhibit everything, we end up finding it in a week, we can still reprogram that key for something else though,
They
right?
can. The chips can be overwritten.
Okay.
Yes.
It just won't work for this, but we could give it to
Right.
Sure.
James in room 105 and give it to him as a room key.
Right.
Okay.
So, let's say that John and Sally
Mhm.
say we lost one of our keys. We need a new key. Okay, was it John or Sally's key that you lost? Well, we don't know. Here's the one we have. So what we can do is they're not labeled, and do everyone a favor, don't label them.
Don't label.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah.
So we can put it in there, and it looks like Elizabeth already knows. We can read the key to see whose it is.
So there it is. So
That is
she-
Sally's key,
Miss Sally Biggs
which means the one that was lost
Was
is
John's.
was
John's.
John's.
So we have to start over and do a new.
Nope,
Yeah.
not necessarily.
So we can reprogram this key, can we?
Yes, but well,
We're gonna erase it
let me
first?
illustrate this first before we
Okay.
erase it.
You're basically going to promote Sally's key.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I wish you could do that, but you can't. This isn't an authority level. It's just a numerical
just-
identifier.
Okay.
That's all it is.
Okay.
So John lost his key.
Okay.
Okay. His was the first key, but they're still the same. It's the same level of key. They're still just a resonant key.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sally's is existing.
Mm-hmm.
So we can either issue a new key and give Sally the new key ID 1, and John gets the duplicate, which is fine. Or you can make an inhibit key and go turn Sally's key off and issue a duplicate, and John would get, or excuse me, John's the one that was lost. You can inhibit John's, and he would get key ID number 3. But because there's only 2 people living in the apartment, it's an extra trip for you around to the door and all the common areas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
You
it
might
really
as-
only works if you got 4 or more people
Yeah.
living
Yeah,
there.
it's
You
a
know.
lot of work.
Yeah.
So you guys probably won't use inhibit with the resident key, but I'm
No.
required to tell you that it is
No.
there. if you
Yeah.
need it. So in this case, if one of them is lost, you don't even have to read it. Just give me the other key back, encode it as the new key, issue 1 duplicate, assign it each to one.
And you're
John
back where
and
you
Sally,
started.
And you're back where you started. You're
Okay.
fine. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was really easy, guys.
Yep.
You absorbed that very well. It's not typical. So that's the hardest thing to understand, and the most important thing to understand about the system is how new and duplicate works.
Okay.
Because
seems
it
pretty
helps us. You can do that, and you don't have to go back to the door to reprogram it.
Yeah.
So that is why we can boast that our system is a non-touring system.
So if I wanna use that key again, I erase it first, and then I could use it for somebody else.
You can simply recode over it. I think it's probably a good practice to
So
erase
it.
the
That's
key
what
and
I've
throw,
been-
throw
that's
in
what
a
I've been doing.
key
Yes,
box.
that's what
Yeah.
I do,
Something
yeah.
Is there like a maximum amount of times you can reprogram a key, or is it just forever? Or is it even a number worth mentioning?
Until it stops working, and I don't know what that number is.
Okay.
I know in any generation, like Master Key, for example, you can only have 64 in one generation.
Because I imagine if you do, the more generations you do on a key, the more use it's going to get. You know what I mean? As far as like programming language, and I don't know, kind of like a copy of a copy of a copy, kind of.
You're talking about fatigue of the non-volatile memory, and who knows?
Yeah.
Find out. I'll buy you lunch.
Okay.
See if you can get through it that many times. You know?
Okay.
I don't know. It's got to be in the hundreds, if not thousands.
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably a number that wouldn't even pertain to what we would.
Really, what's happening is the chip that's in here is not unlike what's on your credit card.
Mm-hmm.
When you insert your credit card into a reader, that reader is emitting a radio frequency at a specific frequency that energizes the memory, so it can be read. So this doesn't have a battery that can fail.
Yeah.
It's like a thumb drive.
Yeah.
It only works.
It's just an RFID chip.
Otherwise, it just lies dormant.
Yeah. Okay.
Presumably in perpetuity. So.
Okay.
Okay. We can close that.
Okay.
And we can sort of fast track cruise on through. If you'll mouse over the key menu and create, and just leave it there.
Okay.
Resident keys, we've gone over that. A zone key, we've talked about briefly. Zones are a way of grouping your locks together by floors, by section, whatever, however you want to do it. People you like, people you don't like, whatever. And then you can make a zone key that functions as a master for only that zone. It only opens the locks in that zone.
Would we ever do that?
Yes, we do it a lot.
For what?
So for caregivers, they don't have access to the kitchen as an example. The dining service folks do not have access to the apartments. That's just a caregiver responsibility. So we do different zones. Different departments don't have access to everything.
So you would have a care zone.
Yes.
You would have a kitchen zone.
Med tech zone, kitchen zone. Housekeepers would also have a key to each apartment. And then the directors would have a different zone because I want them to have access to everything. Activities, we wouldn't want everybody to have access to that because at some point, we'd have to lock it up at 7 o'clock. So yeah, definitely zones.
Okay.
So make sure you do some pre-planning there.
Well,
if you have staff that need access to all the locks in zone 1 and 2 in zone 2, they have to carry 2 zone keys. You can't encode all of that into one credential.
Yeah. So you can only assign them to one zone.
Yeah, and then for that person that has them on their keychain, they need some way to identify what key is what, without a label that says, "Hey, if you pick me up, it'll work in all these doors." So use like a whiteout or something. Put a white dot on one of them. Or
try one key.
It
works. It doesn't. Try the other key.
That's going to clutter your audit trail if that's important to you.
That's true. I have to have that audit trail clean.
Audit trail.
I guess.
Records resident key activity and staff activity, even the staff activity that is where if you have a residence that, and I've seen this before, not that it would ever happen anywhere, but there was a gentleman who was feeling social and was trying his key at every lock on the corridor. Well, really where the single females lived.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it's going to record that activity, that key activity. Where access was not granted, it's going to show in the list.
Okay.
Yep. Same thing for staff keys.
Okay.
So if that's not a big deal, then yeah, try one. If it doesn't work, try the other.
Yeah.
Okay. So zones. There's a process for this. Your locks, when they ship from the factory, they are in an unprogrammed state called construction mode. I thought I brought my lock in here. Did I not? I may not have.
Oh, that one that block of wood thing sitting over on the counter in the sales trailer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead and get that before I leave. Okay, so they're in construction mode. When you guys installed your locks or your installers got a bunch of these are construction keys. Same thing, they're just encoded to work during construction mode.
I see.
So they don't have unit name 101, 102. Okay. And only the construction keys will work. Any one of these construction keys will open any lock that's in construction mode.
Okay.
When the units are ready for turnover for move-in, we go to the lot with the programmer there, program that lock as unit 104, 105, 106.
Mhm.
At that point, the construction keys no longer work, and
Okay.
only keys you make will have access.
Will work. Okay.
Okay, makes sense. Mhm.
That's how that works. I'm assuming these are still in construction. That's that. Yep. It is indeed. So when we go program them the first time, we'll do a little pre-planning. So the steps are, you go in and you put the lock into a zone, and I'll guide you through that.
Okay,
We'll
so what
pause
do I
on
do
the keys
next?
and we'll talk about zones.
So
since
do you
you
want me
guys
to
are
go
gonna
into,
use them.
want me to go into zone key? Or, no, you want me to go into,
We're gonna go through the steps
Okay.
to make sure you guys do them in order.
Okay.
Step one
okay.
is, are you gonna have unique names for these zones, or are you just gonna call them zones?
I'm just gonna call it 1, 2, 3, 4,
Well-
A, B, C, D, that kind of thing.
And you'll know what has access where?
Yeah, I'll have a menu.
Okay. So go to the people menu.
Okay, so that's back here. Okay.
And site
so-
design
All right,
and
So-
zones.
the last one there, okay.
So what you're seeing here is a
Mhm.
pre-populated list
Mhm.
of zones that are available for your use.
Okay,
If you highlight zone 1,
okay, okay,
edit, you can retitle it if you want to. If you
Okay.
want
I'll
to
just
call
keep
that
it.
kitchen zone, if you want to call it
I see, gotcha.
Care staff.
care
Care
staff,
staff.
med,
Okay.
med staff,
Okay,
memory
so
care.
I would go ahead and do that, okay.
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 Mhm.
You can do that there.
Okay,
Okay.
so then I would click okay.
You would click OK and
Uh-huh.
save.
Save, okay.
And then the second step is to go back to the same place, the people menu,
Mm-hmm,
and site design,
mm-hmm,
unit locks.
mm-hmm.
So first we named the zone. Second, we're going to put the lock into the
To that
zones.
zone.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So don't worry about the first number there. That's more than likely a memory address. The second number you're seeing there is your unit number.
104,
So
105,
if you
106.
highlight, 104 or 105
Mhm.
Okay,
and edit,
okay,
here you can. I wouldn't recommend renaming
no,
the
No.
unit. You can assign the zone.
okay. And I'm gonna assign it number 1. It's gonna be part of zone 1, is that correct?
Yes. So here I see that lock is assigned a suite lock.
Mm-hmm,
So you have a lock on the front door, and you have locks on the individual bedrooms as well?
no, just
No.
the front door.
Okay. Oh, I see. The unit locks are all suite locks.
Right, it's an apartment, it's
Yeah.
a suite, so they don't need a key for their bedroom.
I see. Okay. All right, very well. So here we can assign that lock to a zone.
Okay.
Okay, okay.
So at that point, we can hit OK.
Mm-hmm,
And so it's important for me to point out here, on some of our properties, our dealers will sell, there are unit locks
Mm-hmm.
that have a unit function, and there's another suite lock. There's a suite lock that has a suite function. And the difference is, when you have locks on the individual bedrooms,
Mm-hmm.
everyone's key gets through the front door and then only their bedroom.
Okay.
We use that a lot in student housing.
Yeah.
oh.
Or I've been in hotels that are like that, where you go in the first door,
Mm-hmm,
and then you have a door to the left and a door to the right, and each one's a different room.
mm-hmm,
Something similar to that.
yeah,
So when you have that situation and you only have one person in each bedroom,
Mm-hmm.
the system sees the bedroom as the unit,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when you put someone in a unit and it's only one person,
Mm-hmm.
then it's always new key if they need to replace it.
Yeah.
Always. Because the suite lock is not affected by that.
Mm-hmm.
So because I see that now, I'm wondering if you have suite locks out here, then you don't have to do the zones assignment to the unit. You would do the zone assignment to the suite lock, if that's what's on your front door.
right.
So we'll have to identify that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll take a break and go do
Good.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, because we do
So-
not have locks on the bedroom,
No.
just the front.
Right, I'm saying that the apartment entry lock could be, the part number could be
Ah,
for a unit
gotcha.
or suite. And if it's a suite, then you would just rename, the process is the same, but instead of assigning zones here, you would assign them here.
Right, okay, got it.
So if it's
Okay.
suite number 104, you would go edit that one
Okay.
and put it in a zone.
Okay, so that's really important, because at Bankers, we
Mhm.
got confused with what a unit versus a suite was.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can identify that
Okay.
before I go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's step number 2. You would put the lock into the zone. And the third step is that, remember, the computer knows it, the locks don't yet. So we would have to go to the utility device menu, which is the wrench,
Okay.
program locks. And let's assume that they are suite locks. So you use the middle column for suites.
This one, you mean,
Yes.
what do you mean? Okay, so
Yeah.
number 105 is the one I picked, right? That's the one we're working on? So you want me to click on that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't have to do this right now, but this is where you go. You'll select the locks you want to program up to 100
Okay.
at a time.
Per zone, right?
And when we go program them, now because we're doing this ahead of time, a few things will happen. It will pick up the date and time at the lock. The lock will pick up its name and the zone it's in.
Oh, okay.
So you do this first, so you don't have to go do a separate programming operation to put the lock in a zone.
Okay.
Saves a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now, master keys ignore zones, right?
Yeah, it's a master level. Yeah.
So it ignores.
Zone is essentially a submaster.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Where it's limited in access.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So those are the processes, and
Okay.
what we can sort of recap that as we move through. Let's go back to the key menu. So after we've programmed the
Oh.
lock, that's okay. It's just gonna.
Making a key.
No, it's actually dumping that
Just
suite
take this
information.
out?
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
You were dumping suite program information
I
into
got
this
it.
thing.
I
Yeah.
see. Gotcha. Okay.
And now it's gonna
Was
say
successful. Good.
ready to program.
But at this point, it won't matter until she actually sticks the key in the lock, right? Because nothing's changed on any of the locks.
Well, she wasn't making a key. That was going where you go to. Remember, we went to
To
program
zones.
lock.
Yeah.
I see.
So
Are
she
you
just-
asking about what she was just doing, or are you asking about
No,
the key?
no. What I'm asking is, she was programming a zone, right? Putting a room into a zone. Okay. And then she hit OK, and then.
And that little key thing was.
It has
spinning
nothing to do
around.
with the key.
Oh.
Okay, so that's just the way it shows that it's thinking.
Yeah, we
I
were.
gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we were here. So first we named the zone. Second, we put the lock into the zone in software.
No, I saw the key thing turning,
I know.
we thought
It
and I
just,
thought that
Wasn't
meant
that
that's
it
the
was
equivalent
making,
of the Microsoft swirly
yeah.
hour
Okay.
rise.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
That just means it's thinking.
Yeah.
Okay.
So after we did we went to program locks and we said we're going to program number 104, 105. When she hit OK, the key spinny was this
Going
computer
into
dumping
there.
the information here, and now it says ready to program 105.
So now you're going to take this
You would go program
to
underneath that.
105, and then it would program it in that
Yes.
zone. Okay.
And when you do that, it will pick up date and time. It'll pick up the zone. It'll pick up its unit name.
Okay.
Yep, its suite name.
So they're going to have to take this to every single
Yes.
door.
Yep.
That's not my job.
Well, you did say they,
He,
not I,
He.
or we. Yeah.
not me. I know that.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a lot of time.
Yeah.
But
So
once it's done once, it's nice that it's done.
it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he'll be able to do it with nobody in the building.
Exactly.
So I mean, he'll
Oh,
be
your
able,
maintenance guy?
Hopefully.
yeah. So he'll be able to go from door to door to door to
Right.
door to door.
Well,
and-
technically, he only really has to do it when people move in, unless there's some other reason to do it.
Yeah, but he'll want to set up the
Well,
zones
we've got to set
before
up the zones
people
for
move
staff
in.
and-
So
And everything.
Understood.
yeah.
Yeah, 'cause,
So,
yeah.
but nobody will be here to bother him, so he can just
Maybe
do
get
it
it
and then
done
go
more
through,
quickly.
and
Yeah.
go
Right.
from door to door. So it'll
Yeah.
be easy.
So, if you would go to the key menu.
Okay,
After you've done all that, you can then make a zone key
okay.
and go to zone key. A couple things I want you to notice here. No keys have been made.
Mhm. So it would be a new key?
We didn't make a duplicate key, did we? Or we didn't make we didn't make a master key, did we? No, we didn't. No.
So what
This is going to be a new key. It would be a new key.
Would be
Yes.
a
So
new key.
with
So-
the with the zone keys, it's the same analogy as with the other keys, right? You have one, and then they're all duplicates
Yeah.
of that first
Same
zone
thing
key.
applies.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's.
Am I not doing
No,
things
go
right?
ahead. No, you're
I'm
fine.
just fooling around with it. So
It's
I'm gonna-
yours.
So I'm gonna do, yeah, so we'll go ahead and,
You break it, you buy it.
yeah.
It's no. That's what I'm saying. If you
Okay.
bought it, it's yours.
So I'll go ahead and assign the zone key to me. We can undo this, right?
You can erase the key afterward
Okay.
if you really want to make the zone key, but you haven't
I don't
programmed
really
this
want to.
key
I
into
just-
any locks.
Yeah.
So
I was just
a couple
trying
of
to
things
get-
I want you to notice in this dialogue.
Mhm.
You can limit the hours during the day when the zone key works.
Right.
That's on the right there. You can say this key is only going to work during the shift hours
Right.
of 7 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can also set it to expire.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is nice, yeah.
And then for every zone key that you make and resident key, you would probably want to give it the appropriate level of common access assignment.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a place in the software where I can make this default to they're all going to be selected,
Okay.
or whichever ones that everybody gets
Mhm.
will automatically be selected. So you don't have to select the common access locks every time you make a key.
Which is what I had the last time. which
Yeah,
was
we
really
can
nice.
set that up.
Yeah.
A lot easier.
That would be good for vendor
No
keys.
problem. So this key that we're making here is only going to open locks in zone 1, but it will open them around the clock
Mhm.
because it's 12 a.m. to 12 a.m.
Okay.
Right.
If you want to limit that, you change it. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So those are the steps. Name the zone, put the lock into the zone
Mhm.
here,
Mhm.
program the lock into the zone,
Mhm.
then make the zone key.
Okay.
And because none of your locks are programmed, you can do it all in one
Step.
step.
Yeah.
Okay, we can cancel that. Let's go
Mhm.
back to the key menu, and we'll continue discussing those types.
Create.
Just mouse over create so the list shows up.
Whoops,
Yeah,
sorry.
just bring the list up and leave
There
it
we
there.
go.
Yeah.
So
So master keys, same as zone, can be limited by time of day. They can
Mhm.
also be set to expire. Zone and master keys can only be assigned to staff members.
Okay.
The inhibit keys you see below that do exactly what we talked about in our example.
Mhm.
They inhibit specific key IDs.
Mhm.
Okay.
So in the master key example we used, if Kyle's was lost and you're going to fire Kevin anyway, you can take the inhibit key and tell it you're going to inhibit key ID number 2 and 4 on the same key or the same set of inhibit keys.
Mhm.
And as soon as Kevin asks you why isn't my key working, you can tell him
Mhm.
Right.
because you're being dismissed.
Mhm.
Do it on a Friday.
Yeah.
Late in the day. All right. So inhibit keys just turn off specific key IDs. And if you want to see an example of what I mean, go to inhibit resident key. Those are the existing keys for unit 104,
Mhm.
Okay.
John and Sally, and their respective key IDs.
Mhm.
You can make an inhibit key for both of those
Okay.
if you want to go through the trouble of doing that. But this is really the example I would use for a master key. You're going to see a list populated there of all the master keys you have
Mhm.
Mhm.
outstanding, and you can choose which one or
To inhibit.
which ones to
Okay.
inhibit.
Okay. Got
Okay.
it.
That's the inhibit key function.
Okay.
So we can go back. Let's go back to the key list, and we'll cruise on through that. Next would be the latch unlatch key. At your common area locks, you can make the latch unlatch key when presented to a lock. It's going to tell the lock go into an unlocked state, what we call passage.
Mhm.
Go into passage until you're told to do otherwise.
Okay.
So key presentation, it will unlock. It will stay that way until I return with the latch unlatch key and say, okay, you're done. And it will resume normal locking function at that point.
Okay.
Okay.
A construction key is, we've already talked
Yeah.
about that.
Mhm.
A limited use key is for vendors. Could you
Mhm.
open that dialog, please? Okay, go
Okay.
ahead and click on
Sure.
limited use.
Limited use key.
Okay, so let's say you have a plumber or a painter or a
Mhm.
tradesperson of some kind. You can say on the left there, they need access to these 4 or 5 units, and they need access to these common area locks.
Mhm.
A one-shot key is only going to work once in the lock. That's for like UPS drop-offs or such,
Mhm.
if you want to use it.
Mhm.
The valid date and
Mhm.
expire time is
Mhm.
something you can say, I want this to expire on the 17th at 4 p.m.
Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
If you set that, if you make the key for the 17th at 4 p.m.,
Mhm.
it's not going to work at all on the 16th. It
Mhm.
won't work today. Today's the 16th, isn't it?
Sure.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So it wouldn't work until tomorrow.
It
at
won't
4
work until
p.m.
tomorrow. It's
Mhm.
the limit is 24 hours. It's designed to work on the day you make it until the time you set it
Okay.
for.
Sure.
So you'd have to make it in the morning,
Okay. Gotcha.
whatever your service is going to be.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, this is not the same as a temporary key.
Mhm.
We'll have other workarounds for that kind of thing
Okay.
if you need it.
Okay.
Okay.
Makes sense.
So at the bottom there, you can assign it to a staff member, you can assign it to a vendor.
Okay.
I would strongly encourage you to schedule fire alarms during software trainings, and to assign.
We did that on purpose.
Yeah, I bet. So we need to put the individual's name in the software anytime anyone's going to get a key.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Resident, staff, or vendor, it doesn't matter. Everyone's name goes in. Okay.
So
The reason for that is when their key is used and something happens, you have to pull a history from the lock. It's going to show that individual's name, not just a company name.
Right.
So we would have to make a new vendor key every single time for every single vendor.
A limited use key is for a single day, that creation on that day, expiration on that day. It's a very short window, so it only serves certain purposes. If you need something that is a little bit longer use than that, we can talk about how to do that.
Okay.
For example, if a family member, someone's grandson wants to come stay 3 nights, then you can issue them a resident key and make it expire if you want to.
Well, I guess what I was getting at is if you have, say an HVAC company come out and they send John, and the next day they send Jim, and the next day they send Kyle, you have to make 3 separate keys.
Yep.
If you want to put their name on each key, right? You would have to remake the key and then add their name to that key?
Yes, but in the vendors, when we enter a vendor, we put the company name in, we hit OK, and it saves the company under the company. And then we have a separate section of that same dialogue for you to put the individual's name in.
Okay.
So you put the employee's name in, John, Kevin, and Jason, whatever it is.
So if we
Put
get
them
them
all in
again, then we just click their name.
Yeah, when you issue this key, you're going to select the vendor, and then you select the employee it's going to.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, there is some data entry there.
Yeah, because you're never gonna get the same guy twice for major companies.
Maybe not. If you're going to use a generic name like, Green's Landscaping, and then you enter the employee, employee 1, and it's just a generic name, then get the person's driver's license.
Yeah.
And have an analog record of who was there on what day.
Right.
Yeah.
Because.
Or have them. You know what else you can do is you can just have vendor keys, and then just have them sign out the vendor key. With Steve's HVAC, and then put.
That's if you don't have specific areas of the property you want them to go into. Because what you're talking about is a master level credential.
Yeah, that's true.
If there's a need to say you only get access here, here, and here, then you would need to use the limited use key.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Let's move on down the list, back to the key menu.
Okay.
All right. Diagnostic key. Let's actually, would you make me a diagnostic key? Please? So a diagnostic key is just kind of a snapshot of the lock. It's going to give you the lock's name and some other few bits of information. If someone is being denied access to a lock, you can stick a diagnostic key in there and come back here and read it, and it's going to tell you the reason.
Okay.
They were denied. It'll say something like key expired, or the key is
incorrect access, or
not found in lock's database.
Okay.
Which
Please
means
insert key into encoder and
just hit
press
OK.
OK.
Just hit OK.
Oh, okay. Thought I did. Uh-oh. What happened
Piece of
here?
junk.
There's your answer. Buy me lunch. It lasts about 3 times.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Defective key.
Maybe. I don't know.
Want me to try
We're
it
going to
again?
test it again in a minute. Give me that one. Here, use this one.
You're doing the diagnostic test. Okay, here we go. Seems to be working.
Success.
Yep, successful. Okay,
Okay,
no error.
close
All right.
that.
Alrighty, that one works.
Now let's take that key and go introduce it to a unit entry.
Okay.
We can just do the shop, right?
I don't know.
Walk across the hall.
Probably not.
Okay. Well, will it work in any of the other ones since they're still construction keys? Because they're all still construction.
No, it should.
It should? Okay.
I've got a
I
backup.
thought they were done with those tests.
There.
It worked.
It didn't open the lock.
No, it doesn't open a lock.
No.
Oh,
If
the
it opens
light
up-
turned green.
Just-
That's
Yeah,
why
that
I thought.
means probably means
It's
it
just
read it.
reading it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Here's another thing you can do. What I'm doing now is It's called Get Lock Info. On the bottom of the lock here, there is a port we use for programming.
Okay.
I can do this for muscle memory. Yep. 2 more beeps and a short beep. Okay. The short beep indicates it's done. As soon as I plugged it in, the screen said operation complete. I don't trust it.
Okay.
It may be complete, it's not a lot of data, but I always just let it finish.
Wait for the short beep.
Sure.
5 seconds of my life is fine.
Got it.
They are done. They're doing the elevators.
Oh, that's good.
So he said Taylor did say they had an elevator inspection
Oh,
tonight.
oh, good.
So
So now we can read that key. The diagnostic
Wanna read
key.
it?
Yeah, read it.
Okay. Okay. So that's what it says. Sweet
RF
unknown.
communication failed. Does it tell you?
Interesting.
It does not tell you if it's a suite or unit,
Nope, it says unknown.
but this will. So what I did was called Get Lock Info. It's just kind of a snapshot. It'll give us the lock's name and battery voltage, firmware version, how many times it's been cycled, so on and so forth.
Okay.
Okay. So the process, before we do this, I want to point out that the process that you just saw, taking that from the cradle, the cable with me, go plug it into the lock, that's the same if we're doing a download an audit trail or if we're going to program the lock. So when you go program the locks initially, the process is the same. You'll hear the beeping, just wait till the beeping stops. For instance, if we're at unit 104, we've selected 104 through 120. When I'm done programming 104 and I unplug, the screen will then roll to ready to program 105.
okay.
106, 107, it'll do it automatically.
Okay.
So now that we've pulled some information from the lock, we'll go back to the utility device menu and go to read lock info.
I'm just a minute here. Read lock info. Oh, there. Sorry.
That's okay.
Going through each one at a time. Okay.
Yes.
So records for one lock. Do we want to save the records or not?
Yes.
All right.
And we'll preview and hit OK and maximize.
Okay.
So there's our answer. It is a suite lock, right? So that means when you go into the software to assign your locks to a zone, you'll do it under suite locks, not unit.
Okay.
Locks. Okay.
Perfect.
So this is when she did it, or
Nope.
what date is this?
That's
That is a function of that lock not having been programmed yet.
Okay.
oh, so it's just random.
So that's just the time that it thinks it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you notice the cycle count was 231.
Mm-hmm.
That door has been cycled 231 times from the time it was powered until now.
Okay.
You need to know to that door doing things in there.
A
Quite
lot.
bit.
Getting it ready.
Quite a bit. All right, so let's finish up the key menu.
Okay.
Just mouse over it, yeah. All right, so the next one is the battery check key, and it does just what it says. It doesn't let
Checks
you
the
in
battery?
anywhere. When you introduce it to a lock, it's just going to give you green LEDs for good batteries, red LEDs for batteries need to be replaced.
Okay.
And how often do the batteries have to be replaced in that door thing? About every 5
Depends
years?
on how often
They're
the doors
rated for
use.
180,000 cycles.
Okay.
In student housing, that's a year and a half. In senior living, it's a 2-year thing. Those
Okay.
are lower traffic doors. They just
Yeah.
don't
They're not going in and out
go
nearly as
in
much.
and out nearly as much.
They all seem to go out at once, because I know they did, and so then it was, having to change those out.
It was once suggested to me to encourage my customers to budget for about a third of their locks every year.
Okay.
A quarter
That
to a
makes
third.
sense. Okay.
Yeah.
And get those, in hand, so that we don't have to wait for delivery of those, right? I mean, order them ahead of time too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't have to order them from me,
No,
just wherever you can get batteries.
okay. Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right.
The guard check key is for a security patrol
Okay.
courtesy officers, it's called
Yeah.
now. That is I want you to make your rounds around the property, present your key at these 4 places,
Mhm.
and then you can read the key and see if they did. what
They
you're
actually
supposed to
did
do.
it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Emergency key is intended for a Knox box. It's for
Right.
emergency services. You
Mhm.
can't turn it off, can't inhibit it.
Mhm.
All you can do is erase it or destroy it, like in a
Okay.
fire
Mhm.
or
Okay.
wood chipper might work.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I know we already have our Knox boxes out there, but I'm not sure if the keys are.
They're
in
not.
there.
No, they're not.
Okay, so that's something I'm gonna have to do.
Yeah,
the
I would
bid
wait
strike.
until you have to have it to make it because
Yeah.
there's no way to override that key.
Okay.
Yeah.
It cannot be turned off ever.
Yeah.
Alright.
And I don't
Unless you
think
just
we
erase
can. I don't even think we can close the Knox boxes. I think that fire department has to close the Knox boxes once the keys are in there
Right,
for the first one.
yeah,
So we'll have to. So I mean, there's
I'll
more
set it
than
up.
that key that'll have to go in there. So
yeah.
we'll have to assemble them all together, and
Right.
then
There's
once
three
we do
Knox
that.
boxes. There's one by the generator that has extra keys, and then it's just this key in the front too. I understand, but anyways, yeah, we'll
Yeah.
just get EMS in here and fire
Yeah.
department and talk to them.
So
Okay,
it's
Alright.
a good time to tell you that in this guy there are NiCad AA rechargeable batteries. These should be good for quite a while. You shouldn't have to replace these.
yeah.
Only rechargeables. These posts here are what provide power to recharge the batteries. It'll last a good while on a single charge, but let's leave it in there overnight.
Yeah.
In the locks, however, we only use alkaline.
Okay.
And the reason for that is, if you look at another battery chemistry, like lithium, for example, used a lot in cameras and such, they hold a very steady voltage until the end of their life, and they stop suddenly. Alkaline batteries taper over time. If you've ever had a tape player, you know, way back in the day with cassettes,
You could
when
hear it
the
start
tape
to
started
slow
to
down.
a little
Yeah.
bit. Right? I had some like motorized toys that wouldn't walk as fast.
Yeah.
even a flashlight.
And flashlights go dim.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we use that taper to create low battery warning. It'll be
Sure.
LEDs, red LEDs will be generated.
Okay.
There's also a hassle feature built into the lock. When the batteries are critically low, when the resident presents their key, it's going to give them 6 red lights and not let them in the first time. It will let them in the second time. That is designed so that they will tell you, hey, something's wrong with my lock. My batteries are getting low or something.
Okay.
When that happens, you have about a week to get to the door and change the batteries.
Okay.
On these locks, it's behind the inside cover.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's a
Um,
special tool for that.
It's a security Torx bit.
And are you leaving a couple of those with us?
You
or
can
is
buy
that-
those anywhere.
Okay, just wanted,
Yeah, I don't
okay,
have
just
it.
You
wanted
can-
to check.
You
I
can
know
buy
it's a-
those anywhere.
I know it's.
It's just a
special
standard
tool.
Torx bit, right?
Oh, it is?
Like a number
Okay.
6.
It is common,
Uh-huh.
but it's a
Oh,
security bit. This isn't the right
And it has a
size.
dimple in the end.
I don't think, yeah, it has a dimple in the end.
Okay,
You can get those anywhere.
okay.
Because the screw is a little post that
Yeah.
if it doesn't have that dimple, the bit can't make it in there to
Yeah.
turn.
I see.
Yeah.
So it is just a very mild
Yeah. You can.
security thing.
Oh.
Yeah. You can get those in Home Depot or Lowe's or.
Okay, I didn't know. Okay.
whatever.
I just know it was a
Yeah,
special
I try
tool
to find them
change
individually,
Uh-huh.
and you can only buy them in a set.
Yeah. You have to buy them in a security
Yeah.
set, and it has
Yeah.
different sizes with the dimples in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And we-
So
we
I
got
can
that.
order those.
I have some at home,
You
but
do.
you're not getting mine because
No, we don't want yours.
mine are
We'll order
Matco and they're
one.
really
Yeah.
expensive.
Oh.
I was a mechanic for about 4 years, so
Oh, okay.
I have about $20,000 in tools sitting in my
Yeah,
garage.
yeah.
They're expensive.
Matco's no joke. It's good stuff. All right. So looking over the key list there,
Mm-hmm.
are there any we need to go back over? You have any questions about any of those?
I don't.
Nope, I have no. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Pretty straightforward.
So let's
Okay.
go to the wrench menu. Will be very quick
Okay.
since a lot of these operations are self-explanatory.
Sure.
The top one is just setting the date and time. If you're using key expiry, might want to do that,
Okay.
annually.
So will this do it when we do the first program?
Yes.
It'll automatically
It'll
set
pick
the.
up date and time.
Okay.
The reloading of common access locks is a tool that is really most valuable in student living, but what it does is if I have a bunch of people move out over the course of 6 months or a year, some of those keys I didn't get back, and even though the residents are deleted out of my system, if I didn't get all the keys back, they potentially could still work for
Sure.
things like amenities for the front door.
Sure.
So you can use that. It puts the utility device in reload common access lock function, and you go plug it in, and all it does is just refresh the database in the
Okay.
common access lock.
Okay.
Okay.
So most properties have a strict policy: you must return your keys. So most of the time it's not needed, but it is there if you do need it. It just
Okay.
kind of removes the people who have been deleted out of your system.
Okay.
Okay.
Audit trail's pretty self-explanatory.
Downloading audit trail is exactly what it says it is. It looks exactly like the get lock info, except below that you'll see resident and staff key activity.
Okay.
Right.
So downloading and getting lock info are both pulling information from the lock. The next section, uploading and read lock info, is taking information from the handheld and putting it into the computer.
Got it.
Okay.
At which point you can save it, you can print it in a variety of formats. If the lock batteries die completely, which is not common, but if they do, you do have a way of getting in there
Yeah.
if Mr. and Mrs. Bugs are not present. The first option is to use this.
Which is like a little
This is
battery
nothing but
backup, right?
4 AA's
Yeah.
in this little black case that says SafLok on it. The dead lock, plug this in, it'll power up so you can get in and change the batteries.
Yeah.
Put this into battery backup mode and it does the same thing.
Done the same thing.
Yep.
Okay.
Very pretty straightforward. I've already set the date and time in your utility device.
Which is
So
this,
if
right?
ever- Yep.
Okay.
You need to, you can read the date and time in your utility device
All right.
to confirm. So we're over halfway home here. The next menu is, let's go to the people menu
Okay.
and maintenance. Let's just make sure we've covered everything in here. So you've seen this add staff dialog. You know how to enter residents. Vendors is the same way. You do have a button, if you'll open that, you have a button inside that. Once you add the vendor company, which is the same as the staff, you'll click, highlight the vendor company, and then you can click the employee button to add individual
Individual
employees.
names. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
So let's go back to the same place. Maintenance.
Maintenance. Okay.
All right.
Whoops.
So do you have a piece of software that helps you govern or track work orders?
Yes.
You have that.
Yes.
SamRF does have that feature. It's very basic. You
Okay.
can go through it if you want to. If you already have it, we can skip it. If
We
you
use something else. Yeah.
We use
All
something
right.
else.
Then we can skip that.
Okay.
And backup, if you'll click there. This, for the tech savvy, is the hard drive address,
Okay.
the directory where the backup is kept. If you'll click create backup file,
How
she's
often?
backed up your system.
How often
Okay.
should
When
you
you have a
do
lot of move-ins, I would do it once a week.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Beyond that, quarterly is probably okay.
Okay.
Or
We should-
however often you want to do it.
that? We should probably add that to Tells.
That's a
Then-
good idea.
Yeah.
Really
Have
good idea.
someone in your IT department come in and copy that backup file to a flash drive or an offsite location. So
Okay.
if this hard drive
Can
goes
we-
out on you,
Can we set it to backup to the cloud?
To the cloud.
If
That
we
was
have
my
like a
next
OneDrive
question.
account
your
or-
IT department can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's what we'll do.
But it's able to do that if we
They'd
can set
have
it
to
up.
use something like either Carbonite, Windows Scheduler. They'd have to have a component that they can automate to go into that directory, copy a file, and pull it out.
Okay.
Well, I know we would back it up here, but I mean, we're able to save that data though wherever we want though. If we wanted to
Just
save
keep
that
the,
backup
yeah,
data.
just
We
keep
could
the file, because if this computer, say, gets struck by lightning,
Yeah.
all we would do is get a new computer, install the software,
And
get
then-
that back up, and then
Okay.
Sure.
it'll restore.
Because I think they have like OneDrive or something for,
Yep.
they store everything on.
So go to site design,
So, okay.
Okay.
property settings. If you ever have to call tech support, which you can call me first, you'll need this screen:
Okay.
property
Okay.
name, customer code, distributor code.
Sure. Okay.
The next tab is where you can
Sorry.
Go back to that.
Go back to where we are, right here.
Yep.
And
Site design.
Site design. Okay.
Properties.
Property.
And the next tab.
Oh, that tab. I'm sorry. It's going
Sorry.
all the way out. Unit keys. Okay.
So these are all the generic names for your common access points. Okay. Eventually, these are going to say front door, back door, pool, whatever. But you can select these to default the access for any key that you make.
Okay.
So when you go make a resident key or a zone key, these boxes will already be checked
Right.
in the
Okay.
create key
Right.
dialog.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. You might. I mean, if you want those defaulted, you could do it now even, but you don't have to. So
Let's wait.
the
I have
next
to wait because
tab-
I'm not really
We'll
familiar
rename
with
them.
all the common areas.
Yeah,
I just
and we'll
want
have to
sure- I
rename them
to really
anyway.
look- Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
okay.
we
So
can
get
do
out
that
of here
And I'm
then?
going to show you how to do it. No, not yet.
Okay.
Next tab.
Okay,
This does the
Okay.
same thing for zone keys.
Okay.
And the next tab is daylight savings time.
oh,
Okay.
okay.
US standard is correct. You won't
Okay.
have to alter that. It'll do it on
Alright.
its own. So
Okay.
it locks.
And then audit,
This is if you want to hide resident key activity from audit trails.
Okay.
Residents are going to come home, they're going to leave home, they're going to do their thing. If you only want to see staff key activity, you would
you would just
select
click on
these.
those.
Okay.
It would omit that information from the audit trail.
Okay, okay.
Okay. And let's go back to the people menu
Mhm.
and site design and common access locks. This is where you go to rename them. So
Oh,
click edit, the first one there.
Okay.
And you can retitle it.
To
So the
core.
important thing we need to talk about here is the 2 radial button options.
Okay.
Select the times the lock will automatically open or close.
okay,
Okay.
That means if I put 10 a.m. to noon,
Mhm.
it will be open as in unlocked from 10 a.m. to noon.
Okay.
The second option is select the times the resident keys will open the lock.
okay.
So it's locked all the time. Residents can access this area between these hours.
Okay,
If you want residents to have 24/7 access,
Mhm.
you would simply leave it 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. and select the second option.
alright, okay,
If you leave it as is, that lock's always going to be unlocked.
right,
Okay.
It doesn't lock until you define the hours.
Okay.
okay. Like
So
the
you
front door.
give it a name, select its function, and then go program those access points. That's when it will pick up the configuration you're
Like
Yeah.
the times.
specifying here.
Okay.
So yeah, so that would be good for the front door to
Yeah.
keep the front door
Yeah.
open from like 7 to 6, and then
Something like that, yeah.
shut it down, or
Exactly.
you know.
Mhm. Yep. Okay,
And cancel.
okay,
And management, which is the people menu. Site design. Suite locks.
okay,
This is where you go to put the front door locks into zone.
okay,
Just wanted to reiterate that.
Yeah.
All right.
Cancel it.
Yeah.
Same place. And zones.
okay.
Just a reiteration, this is where you go to rename the zone.
Because so we wouldn't use unit locks on that menu because we have suite locks.
No,
right?
you have suite locks.
We
Unless you
don't
have,
even
do
worry
you have
about
locks on the
units.
bedrooms?
No, no, so we
Then-
don't ever worry
no.
about
No.
that, okay.
No.
Okay.
Alright then, okay,
Alright, people menu.
okay,
And
Work
we can skip
orders,
work
terminal
orders.
settings.
We've already done terminal settings.
Yeah.
Go mouse over site design just to make sure we cover everything in there.
okay.
And
Yeah.
we did.
Mhm.
Last but not least, let's go to the reports menu, which is below the people menu.
Unit key history.
And let's go
User
to
key history.
transactions.
Okay,
And drop down the box for beginning date. And single arrow back, or just select a date that was before today
okay,
and hit accept. And view report. Preview. And this is why you want everybody who logs into the system to have their own login.
mhm,
Mm-hmm.
Because the operator who performed these functions is listed here. So it'll be Elizabeth, Joe, Kelly, whoever's doing
Yeah.
this in the
oh,
software,
me, I did all that,
what they did,
Mhm.
and when they did it.
okay,
Everything that's done in the system is recorded.
Okay.
right,
Everything that happens at the lock is recorded.
mhm,
So you can pull reports specific to keys, specific to units, or specific to a certain type of transaction.
okay,
So I would say we don't need to drill through all of those unless you want to.
I don't
It's
think
fine.
so.
Okay.
no, I've used the reports, I like it when I'm trying to find it,
Okay.
something specific, so,
All right, so the last thing we have to talk about is authorization groups.
how do I get out of here?
Yeah, close that and close that. And people menu,
Mhm,
maintenance,
okay,
authorization groups,
oops, okay,
and click add. So
Oh,
what we're doing
okay.
here is we're creating a category of people that will have a specific set of permissions.
mhm,
So you, Elizabeth, are administrator, which means all of these boxes here and all of the boxes under key authorizations tab, they're all checked for you. You can do everything.
okay,
If you have people, say front office staff, leasing staff, community assistants,
mhm,
anyone who needs to log in to the software to perform any of these functions, you can say, I want them to be able to do this, and this, and then make this kind of key and that kind of key, and that's it. So, for example, I don't know, what might you title a group of people like that?
Well,
front
CRDs
office or-
might be one, front office would be one, I
So,
would have like
Entitle it front office.
caregivers, okay.
Well, no, because caregivers wouldn't need to ever get into this.
Oh, that's true, okay.
So, and neither would the front desk.
No. They
But we
would-
can make front
but
office
we can
as a test group.
Just for
and
a test, we'll just
Sure.
pick that.
We can get rid
Sure.
of it.
Okay,
So you can see the operations that are available, that whole list there.
So
yes.
just
So
give
let's see.
them like the first 4.
I'll give them 1, 2, 3.
I don't know if I give them rename unit. Take the second 2 off there.
Well, we can delete this, can't we? We can delete this group.
You can, yeah, I just
Okay.
want you to consider that renaming a unit is
Just
probably
leave
not
it as
something you
read
wanna
key.
do.
Just leave it as
They
read
can
key.
read a
Okay,
key and
sure.
then go to key authorizations.
Okay, so they can.
Let's say they can make and duplicate,
Yep, make a new key,
make and
Yeah.
duplicate
but
keys,
not erase, let's
Yeah.
say that.
but not erase
So-
maybe, and let's not give them the ability to make emergency or master keys.
Okay, so just
But
the
maybe-
resident key?
Yeah, but just as an example, you don't have to do it. You might want this person to be able to make a vendor key, like a limited use key.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Something like that you might want them to do.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then
so
you would just
put
save that.
Okay, okay, and then what happens, cause I don't wanna,
Okay.
I don't wanna cancel it.
All right, cancel it.
So then when the front
And
desk
close. Go back to
logs
people.
on, they would only have that access.
Exactly.
Okay.
Go to maintenance,
Okay,
staff,
okay,
add.
Oh, okay. This
So
is
when you put them here,
Mhm.
first name, last name, any group that you created for an office, community manager,
Would show
blah,
up
blah,
down
blah,
there.
is gonna be here, and you can either say they're administrator or they're one of these.
gotcha.
okay.
When you select front office, they're gonna be assigned those permissions and only those permissions.
Okay.
But
Gotcha.
that way they can have a login so that you can track their specific activity in the software. You don't want to give your login out
Yeah.
because you're an administrator.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay,
So that's simple enough. So I think realistically, only you and the MD would be administrators. Or can there only be one administrator?
So you guys have my card. You have this, which is sectioned.
right,
Under the help menu here,
Mhm.
the top one will open this whole thing in electronic format.
Okay.
okay,
Each one of these are the individual sections
Mhm.
of the manual. That's stored on your hard drive. You can copy it in the SAMRF folder.
Okay.
I'll show you what it is.
Can you have more than one administrator?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I would make you and the MD administrators,
Okay.
then everyone else you can just
zones or whatever.
yeah, you can
Just the-
choose the
yeah,
permissions you want to
right.
give them.
So on the C drive here,
Mm-hmm.
there's a folder called SAMRF,
Okay.
and here it is.
Yeah.
That indicates,
Section 1,
you
2,
probably
3, 4.
want that to open with, you don't want that to open with Edge, you want it to open.
Yeah, as a PDF in Adobe.
There
Okay.
you
No. Okay.
Now, there they are, you can copy those to a thumb drive, give that to your staff, or it's available in the software.
Okay.
Okay.
So that is the whole enchilada.
Okay.
Anything you want to cover again? Any
I don't.
Nope.
It's pretty.
details?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Mhm.
Okay. When do you have your first move-ins, you think?
Probably towards the end of September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have time.
Yeah, we have some time.
We have
And the
time to do
MD
some
starts in what,
programming
2
and-
weeks, right?
He starts a week from this Monday. So
Yeah.
today's Thursday, yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
feel like has your maintenance director used this system before?
He's used some systems because now he's working in a hotel, so he's familiar with this kind of system, but I'm not sure it's being this particular system.
Okay.
That's the reason I'm recording everything.
Yeah, which is great.
What's his name?
Leonard?
Hey, Leonard. I'm sure you watched it to the end, Leonard.
You did.
Oh, good.
Make sure
There you
we'll
go. You did.
we'll guarantee.
Thank you, Leonard.
Okay. That's it. Elizabeth, if I could have you
Sure.
make your